Continuing with Senator John McCain. Another issue near and dear to your heart and many people in Arizona and other people across the country is the whole issue of illegal immigration. And so as an adjunct to that, the information that I learned this week, and we've been covering the story for more than a year, is that an American is one of the leaders of one of the cartels right over the border in Mexico. I'm sure you have a thought about that. The fact that an American is leading one of these drug cartels, for some reason, is more stunning to me.
Well, it's stunning, and also let me point out that this latest massacre down in Mexico, about 100 miles south of the border, where they found 72 bodies, 14 women who were apparently migrants from other countries like El Salvador and others. And this murder, this massacre, has been carried out, according to news reports, by these people called Zetas, who are former military members who have now taken up with the drug cartels and formed their own. This is the most cruel and brutal things that have happened in our hemisphere. And what I don't get, Greta, is where are the immigration activists and the human rights activists and others that wouldn't conclude that the way you stop this terrible situation, one of the ways, is to secure our borders. Then this human trafficking dries up and people come to this country legally. But they don't seem to get that. Where are the human rights activists with these terrible abuses that are taking place as we speak? Somewhere in this city tonight, in Phoenix, this afternoon and tonight, there's a drop house where a whole bunch of people are crammed in together, they're kept in unspeakable conditions, and they're held for ransom. That shouldn't be taking place.
Where are they, though? Let me ask you that question. Where are they? Because, I mean, there are the issues, the economic issues of securing the border, there's the drug issues, but there is the human trafficking, the humanitarian issues. I mean, there's so many of them. Why aren't other people more concerned about this? Why don't we hear more about it?
I don't know, but they certainly have been oblivious to the increase in violence that's taken place over the last year or two. And by the way, accusing me of changing positions as I've watched this violence grow. 28,000 people since 2006 have been murdered in Mexico as a result of the drug cartels, human smuggling, etc. 2,000 bodies in the last decade have been found in the desert outside Tucson. And you can imagine what it's like to die in the desert. And these are people who are being smuggled up, most of them. Some of them are victims of drug cartels fighting with one another. And then turn around and say, don't worry, our border is more secure than ever. It is completely oblivious to what's happening on the other side of the border and continues to happen in our own state. And the majority of the American people have it figured out, but frankly, apparently some of these immigration groups, pro-immigration groups, haven't figured it out yet. Secure the border, then we can address some of the other issues.
All right, and you've been actively pursuing the issue of securing the border, you and your colleague in the U.S. Senate, Fred from Arizona, and others in Arizona. And then there's the issue of once secure, do you think that there is a chance, and would you support and promote and work towards a comprehensive immigration reform once the borders are secure?
Yes, and first of all, John Kyle and I have a 10-point plan that if that is completed, we can secure the borders. In Israel, they have secure borders, by the way, with surveillance and fences and people, and that's what we need down there. And by the way, John Kyle and I, we're glad that more money was appropriated, but the failure of the Homeland Security people to fund the Operation Streamline, which means someone who's a repeat crosser is incarcerated for 15, 30, 60 days before they're returned. It's been had great positive effect on people who are repeat crossers. I'd be certainly glad to address issues like a temporary worker program and others that are necessary. But first we have to convince the American people that they're not going to have to face another flood of people who come into our country illegally if we act without having the border secured.
What do you make of the race up in Alaska with your colleague, Senator Lisa Murkowski, and Joe Miller, who it's neck and neck?
Well, it certainly is, again, a testimony to the impact that Sarah Palin, despite the attacks from the left, has on the American political scene. I continue to admire and respect all her hard work, and she and Todd and Cindy and I remain close, and so she's, one thing you got to say, she's carrying on in the tradition of Teddy Roosevelt. She's in the arena.
What is it about Governor Palin? Because, I mean, the media, can't get enough of her. I don't care which cable news show you're talking about, which network, which newspaper, and, the ones who hate her, they're still talking about her and writing about her. What is it about Governor Palin that seems to get everyone all revved up?
Well, you just spent time with her up in Alaska. She has a certain inner strength and a degree of radiance about her that is very unusual. And she has the courage of her convictions, and she's not bothered by the critics. And frankly, she and Todd and their children, having had their ups and downs, as all families do, are in many ways an inspiration to many Americans. And the way that people react to her in the gatherings that I've been with her is, I haven't seen anything quite that fervent since the days of Ronald Reagan. And I'm not saying she does everything right. I'm not saying that she doesn't make mistakes. We all do. But she certainly has had an impact on America, and I think that's what a lot of us want to do.
Senator, thank you very much, and look forward to coming back to Washington. We'll do an office visit, if you'll permit, so we can do the interviews that we so often do and so much enjoy.
Well, I look forward to it, and again, I enjoyed watching your visit to Alaska. It must have been a great experience.
Senator, it makes so much difference. The same reason we went down to your border in Arizona and going up to Alaska and looking at the pipeline from Anwar area and the North Slope down to Valdez. I wish the president would visit your border, and I wish that for any other issue that people would take these trips up and just take a look at it. It makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Well, the next time that the president's out to help Harry Reid or Barbara Boxer, maybe he could stop by and accept the invitation that John Kyle and I have extended.